how you can correct the mistakes that you make in the process of preparing and balancing of the ledger accounts. So we said that these errors are normally corrected in what we call the general journal. So you are going to pass the journal entries in that general journal to show which account should be debited, which account should be credited, so that that error can be corrected, and therefore your books of accounts are going to be accurate. Before we go there, I want you to remind or to remember something we said when we were doing the errors and the trial balance. So we said this: when you are given a trial balance, which normally has the column for the debit and another column for the credit. So for you to comfortably deal with these errors and how to correct them, you need to remember some basics about the trial balance and which elements are going to appear on the credit and which ones are going to appear on the debit. On the debit, we normally have the assets, we normally have the expenses, we normally have the drawings, we normally have the purchases, we normally have the sales returns or return inwards. In the trial balance, they are going to appear on the debit balance, meaning that these items, they normally have debit balances. And when they increase, we normally debit them. Anytime an asset increases, we debit. Anytime we pay an expense, we debit the expense. Anytime we make drawings, we debit the drawings account. Anytime we make purchases, we debit the purchases account. The same with the sales returns. So these items are normally going to be on the debit side. Then on the credit side, we normally have the capital, we normally have the liabilities, we normally have the revenues or incomes, we also have the sales, we normally have also the purchases returns. They would have credit balances. The reason why I want you to remember this is because when we are correcting the errors, you need to remember whether it is an asset, and if that asset was understated or was overstated, how are you going to deal with it? How are you going to deal with it? So if it was capital, which was never credited, then you need to know that it should be credited. I want to use this to correct something here so that we can be comparing this as I try to solve a question on errors, what I've just shared in the WhatsApp group. So if we can start with this question that was tested in the CHRP November 2022 as question 4A, I want to go straight to the errors. Number one says that the sales day book was overcast by 10,000. The sales day book was overcast by 10,000. That error, let me take you here. The sales day book has been overcast. Remember, we are talking about sales. In this case, the sales has been overcast. Overcast means that we have recorded excess. What are we supposed to do so that we correct that error? So if it has an overcast from the basic, then we need to subtract the overcast. That sales account has got excess amount, and therefore, for us to be able to have the sales account with the correct amount, we need to subtract the overcast. And look here, sales is normally credited. How are you going to subtract an amount from the sales? If it is an issue of subtracting, then we'll have to debit the sales. Because anytime we make sales, we credit. But that sales has been over-credited. In simple terms, it means that because sales is normally credited, and here we have committed an overcast, then we have overcredited. How do you subtract the extra amount? If the account is normally credited, to subtract the excess amount or to subtract any amount, then you need to debit that account. Then you need to debit that account. So you are going to come here and prepare your general journal. We said that the journal entries or the general journal is normally prepared on the basis of double entry. There must be an account to be debited and another account to be credited. So this error number 1, we are saying that the sales daybook has been overcast. So if it is an overcast in the sales, it is going to be an excess amount, and that excess amount will be on the credit because sales is normally credited. So to subtract an amount that is on the credit, we are going to debit that account. So we are going to subtract by debiting sales by the 10,000, which is extra. Then we shall credit the suspense. We shall credit the suspense to correct or to complete the double entry like that. As simple as that. And remember when you are supposed to use the suspense account. I told you suspense account, you only use it when we are talking about errors which affect the trial balance. The errors to do with overcast, errors to do with undercast, errors where one account has not been recorded, error where one account has been recorded by the wrong amount. All those we must involve the suspense account. Errors which do not affect the trial balance, they are not going to attract the use of suspense. Error of omission, error of commission, error of principle, complete reversal, transposition errors, they are not going to make use of the suspense account. Kindly remember that. The errors that we are going to make use of the suspense account are those errors which affect the trial balance. And those errors, you'll find that it is an error that is only touching on one account. It is one account with an issue. The other account has no issue. So you correct the error in that one account, then you make use of the suspense account to complete the double entry. Let us go to statement number 2. Statement number 2 reads, goods costing 8,000 had been taken by Haraka for personal use. Then you are told no record was made to this effect. Remember, the business here, it is the trial balance from the books of Haraka Traders. And here we are talking about goods costing 8,000 had been taken by Haraka. So it is the owner taking the goods for his or her personal use. And when the owner takes any resource from the business, we said we consider that to be drawings. Any amount, any resource taken from the business by the owner for his or her own use, we normally consider that to be drawings. So there were drawings that were made here, and we are told no record was made to this effect. That simply means that there is an error of omission there. If there is no record, then it simply means that no account was entered. Then you need to ask yourself, if goods were taken for personal use, which account should be debited, which account should be credited? That is an error of omission. We are not going to use the suspense account. We record it now. So if it is anything taken for personal use, we are going to have the drawings account, which we have said should be debited. Then you consider what was taken. The owner took goods. The owner took goods. When goods are taken, then we are going to credit the purchases account. When goods are bought, we normally debit them in the purchases account. The owner has decided to take some of these goods that had been purchased for personal use. So the owner is reducing the purchased items. So we credit the purchases. So we are subtracting what was purchased. When we purchase, we debit purchases. But when these goods that we purchased are being reduced, because the owner has taken some of them for personal use, we credit the purchases. We minus the purchased goods. Because purchases is debited, to minus, now we shall be crediting the purchases. So this error will be handled like this. Will be handled like this. Error number 2. 1, we made the drawings, 8,000. These drawings, they are affecting the goods. So they are reducing the goods that were purchased. We shall come here and credit the purchases by 8,000. We're done. We go to number 3. Cash discounts amounting to 6,000 allowed by a creditor was debited to the discount allowed account. Cash discount. Remember we said cash discounts, they are of 2 categories. When we are talking about cash discount, when we were doing the 3-column cash book, we said that cash discounts can either be in the form of discounts allowed, and if it is discount allowed, this is an expense. It can also be in the form of discount received. This is a revenue. The 2 of them are considered to be cash discount. Discount that you are going to get, or discount that you are going to give your customers to enable them pay promptly or within the shortest time possible. They are known as cash discount. So the discount allowed, it is our business that is allowing our customers some discount so that they can pay within a very short period of time. So we agree with them, if you pay within 10 days, I'm going to give you a discount of 5%. That person will struggle to pay within those 10 days. It is a cash discount. Discount received now, we are going to get it from our suppliers. After having bought goods from them, they can give us a discount in the form of what? Discount received. If we pay them within the specified period of time, we receive the discount. So discount received, we normally take it as a revenue or income. And we know if discount allowed is treated as an expense, therefore it should be debited because expenses are normally debited. Discount received, if it is a revenue, it should be credited because revenues are normally credited. Now, if you read the statement here, is it a discount allowed or a discount received? Let us go back there. Let us go back there and agree. It is talking about cash discounts amounting to 6,000 allowed by a creditor. Remember, a creditor is the supplier. Was debited. If it is a discount extended to us by the supplier, then it is a discount received. It is extended by a creditor. A creditor is the supplier from whom we had acquired goods on credit. So we have received discount of 6,000. But now look here. Instead of crediting the discount received, we are told here it was debited to the discount allowed. So there is an error there. That one was supposed to be treated as a discount that was received. Discount received is a revenue. It should be credited in the discount received account. But here, it has been debited to discount allowed. How are you going to handle that error? This now, you need to know this. When an error has occurred like this, 1, it has been debited in the wrong account. It is already in the discount allowed account and on the debit side. We need to reverse that. To reverse a wrong error on the debit, you credit that account to cancel that. To cancel this debit in the wrong account, we shall credit the discount allowed. Understand why we have credited the discount allowed? Because there is a wrong debit. Wrong debit, to cancel or to reverse that wrong entry, you credit the same account. Then you are supposed to record it now into the correct account. The correct account in this case is discount received, which should also be credited. You can see that we have done two credits there. We have credited the discount allowed, and that one we are forced to do so because we need to reverse this wrong debit in that account. We have credited the discount received because it is the correct account to be credited. Now, where are we going to debit this? We are now going to make use of the suspense account. Suspense account, I told you, is like a swing account. It does not have a specific point where it should be recorded. It can go to the debit, it can go to the credit, but your focus should not be on the suspense account. Your focus should be on the error. Correct the errors. If you find that you have done two credits, you have done two debits, you don't have an account to debit, then you bring now the suspense account. Suspense account should come in as your savior when you don't have an account to complete the double entry. So, suspense account now will be debited, and it will be debited by what? By 12,000. Why 12,000? Because we have credited 6,000 twice. This twice came as a result of we have credited the discount allowed to reverse this wrong debit. We have credited the discount received because it is the correct account. So discount allowed has been credited by 6,000. Discount allowed 6,000. That is 12,000. So you debit the suspense account by the total 12,000 so that now we can complete our double entry in that error. The rule is the account to be debited should be captured first. So you come here and say number 3, suspense of 12,000 will be debited. Then I'm going to credit the discount allowed for reversing the 6,000 that was debited. Then I'm going to credit the discount received as the correct entry. That is where the 6,000 was supposed to be recorded. That is all. So sometimes in errors you can have 3 accounts. But the focus, actually, you don't need to struggle with this. Deal with item by item. Don't start imagining about the suspense account. Suspense account should come in as the last resort. You don't have others. Okay. Number 4. A payment of 5,000 for carriage on sales. Carriage on sales is what we call carriage outwards. The amount of money that you are going to spend in the process of transporting goods that you have sold to your customers' premises. So you have decided to offer transport for the sales, for the goods that you have sold. Customer will buy goods, and then you say that, where do you want these goods to be delivered? Point B. Then you incur that cost of transporting the goods from your business to where the customer wants those goods to be delivered. You are going to incur what we call carriage outwards. Carriage inwards, we know it is the cost that we incur in transporting what we have purchased from the point of the supplier to our business premises. So carriage on purchases is carriage inwards. So we have incurred that cost to transport what we have purchased. Carriage outward is the carriage on sales. We are incurring cost to transport what we have sold. So in either case, carriage inwards and carriage outwards, because they are both costs, we normally debit them. The accounts are normally debited. any expense or any account that is going to be dealing with the cost that we are incurring, it should be debited. So here, let us look at what happened. A payment of 5,000 for carriage on sales was debited on carriage inwards. And I've told you that carriage on sales is a carriage outward. All of them are supposed to be debited, but now we have debited the wrong account. Instead of debiting the carriage outwards, we have debited carriage inwards. We shall do the same case that we have done with the discount here. So you will see, if we have debited the carriage inwards, we need to reverse that by crediting it. Then now we shall go and debit the correct account for that case. So that is how you analyze any statement to do with errors. Ask yourself, how was it supposed to be? Then what was done? What is the mistake that they did? If there is an account that was debited or credited on behalf of the other, you have to reverse that first. Then you record where it was supposed to be. If by reversing and recording you have done two debits or two credits, then you have to involve the suspense. But when you do maybe the reverse and the recording, you find that by reversing you credit this and then you debit the other one, you don't need suspense. Suspense only comes where you have not completed the double entry. You have not debited and credited the amounts. That is where suspense account comes in. So we shall not be bringing in suspense anyhow. We normally bring it as the last resort. We don't have others. So in this statement number 4, it is a payment for carriage on sales. That is carriage outwards. We shall debit the carriage outwards. Then this carriage inwards, which was debited, we shall reverse that entry by crediting the carriage inwards. You see now in this error, we have an account that we have debited, we have an account that we have credited, we don't need the suspense. So we shall debit the correct account and reverse on the wrong account. The amount is 5,000. Debit carriage outwards. The account to be debited should come first, 5,000. Then carriage inwards was debited by mistake. We reverse that. And that error is sorted. That error is sorted. Number 5. A balance in the personal account of M. Hamadi, a debtor, was not included in the list of debtors in the trial balance. M. Hamadi is a debtor. A debtor is an asset. And if it is an asset, in the trial balance, we know assets are supposed to be debited. Assets are supposed to be debited. So, on the debit side, we are missing that figure for M. Hamadi. So, M. Hamadi should be debited. And because it is the only account, but now the question here, the problem, that's why we normally say that those who normally set the CHRP papers are normally not very keen. So if you read the entire statement, you are not given the amount. The balance in the personal account of M. Hamadi, a debtor, was not included in the list of debtors in the trial balance. Now, as we are going to correct that, which figure are we going to use? You'll find that now our hands are tied. That transaction cannot be recorded because we don't have the amount. But ideally, we were supposed to debit M. Hamadi because debtors are normally debited being assets. Then we credit the suspense account because that error is only touching on one account, M. Hamadi. We don't have any other account. So it was an issue beyond the control of the candidates. So you just skip that. You cannot imagine a figure, you cannot guess a figure, not given. It was an error there. So that simply tells us even our suspense account is not balanced because that error was supposed to touch on M. Hamadi and we're supposed to credit the suspense account. So the figure is not known. So let us do what we can. Number 6, during the year, Mr. Haraka sold his personal computer, 50,000, and paid the proceeds to the firm's bank account. This was only recorded in the cash book. So you can be able to see that the owner, who is Mr. Haraka, decided to increase the contributions or the investment in the business, disposing the personal computer and then converting the proceeds into business resources. Anytime the proprietor brings additional resources to the business, we are supposed to credit capital. Capital account, it is the account whereby the owner or the owners of the business will be bringing in the resources. That is where we put the entries. So for that case, if 50,000 were deposited in the firm's bank account, we are supposed to debit the bank account, which is the cash book, and then we credit the capital account. So we are told that this was only recorded in the cash book. The cash book is simply the cash and the bank. So bank account was sorted. That is the cash book. The only thing that we never did is crediting the capital. Capital was never credited. So you can see again, this is an error that is only affecting one account. Bank account is sorted because we are told it was recorded in the cash book. Then we never made the double entry in the capital. So we are supposed now to credit the capital by 50,000, then we shall debit the suspense. When it is at one account that is having an issue, you must bring in capital. Sorry, not capital, but suspense. This is entry number 6. Number 5, head issues. Because capital we shall be crediting, then suspense will be debited by 50,000. Then we credit the capital by the same 50,000. As I said, always, when you are capturing the entries in the general journal, account to be debited should be at the top. Debit, credit, debit, credit. So don't do the opposite. That's why I had to start with the suspense. And because capital was supposed to be credited, it will be captured as a number 2. Let us conclude. Number 7. The new warehouse was built at a cost of 50,000, including materials costing that 5,000 and labor 15,000. The material cost was generalized through the purchase book and wages debited in the ordinary wages account. So look here, we are doing a new warehouse. A warehouse is a fixed asset. We are building a warehouse. Warehouse is a fixed asset. And we know when we are dealing with a fixed asset, we don't involve purchases. We don't involve purchases. If it was the materials that were bought to be used in constructing the warehouse, we are supposed to debit the warehouse because it is meant to construct that warehouse. So that at the end of the day, any resource that we are using to construct the warehouse, we debit in the warehouse account, so that at the end, when the warehouse is complete, all the costs that we have debited in the warehouse account will be equivalent to the cost of that warehouse. So fixed assets, all their costs are normally debited in their account. We are not supposed to bring in the purchases because these are not goods for sale. We are not supposed to record them in the wages account because these are not the salaries and wages that we are paying for. We are paying for the employees for the normal running of the business. It is salaries and wages for constructing the warehouse. So it is a construction cost should be debited in the warehouse account. If you read the statement now, we are told that including materials costing that 5,000 and labor of 15,000. The materials cost was generalized. That means that it was entered in the purchases book or the purchases account, and wages debited in the ordinary wages account. Wages account should deal with normal salaries and wages for the employees who are running the business, not for those people who are constructing the warehouse. So 15,000 should be debited in the warehouse, that 5,000 should be debited in the warehouse account. And then, because they are in the purchases account, we shall credit the purchases account, and also we shall credit the wages account to reverse them, to remove them from those accounts, and then we transfer them to the correct account, which is the warehouse account. So this is how we are going to deal with it. Number 7. We are going to debit the warehouse by that 5,000 for the materials. We are going again to debit the warehouse by 15,000 of the wages. Then we are going to credit the purchases. Remember, the materials of that 5,000 were debited or were considered as purchases. Then the purchases, we know, is normally credited. So what are we going to do? To remove them from the purchases, we shall credit the purchases by that 5,000. And then these wages of 15,000, they were treated as the ordinary wages, meaning that they were debited as an expense in the wages account. We remove them by crediting the wages. And that one will be sorted. When we are building a fixed asset, the costs that we incur, they should be recorded in that particular asset account. When we deal them as purchases and they are materials for constructing, then in simple terms, we want to confuse the users. Purchases is only meant to record goods that we are buying for sale. Wages is supposed to only deal with salaries and wages for those people who are running the business. That is how it was supposed to be handled. Any question up to that point before we proceed to question number 2? I hope now you are picking something. I hope now you are picking something. And always remember this table. Very important. What goes to the debit, what goes to the credit, so that when you are told it has been overcasted, it has been undercasted, it has been omitted, you know where it belongs, and you can be able to argue on how to correct that error. So let me first of all.
Mwalimu,
Good, yes.
1 minute. Could you clarify on the carriage inwards and the carriage outwards, how they apply on this table?
They are costs. We are going to treat them as this, as expenses. It is a cost.
Both of them?
Yes, all of them. Because we are the ones who are incurring both.
Yeah.
We are incurring those both. When we purchase, those are carried inwards. So we are paying the transporter to transport those goods to us. When it is carried outwards, we are paying the transportation cost on behalf of the customers. It is like an after-sale service.
All right.
It belongs here. It is a cost.
Thank you.
Good. So both of them are normally debited in the trial balance. Okay. Any other clarification? Good. So basically, maybe we need to complete, even if that suspense account is not balanced because of the error number 5, we were supposed to do a suspense account that is duly balanced, but in this case, it will not be duly balanced because of the mistakes. So if you read the question from the top, it says that the trial balance extracted from the books of Haraka Traders on 30th of June 2021 showed a debit balance of 491,400 and a credit total of 440,400. You can see those figures are not the same. Debit, it has 491,400. Credit, it has 440,400. So what you are supposed to use that information for is determine the difference. What is the difference between the debit totals and the credit totals, so that we can know how much balance we have in the suspense account? Because the difference in the trial balance totals goes to the suspense account as a balance brought down. So 191,400, you minus 440,400, you will get 51,000. Now you need to ask yourself, between the debit and the credit, which one is having a less amount? Which side is less? You will agree with me that the credit side is less. The side with less, that is where we put as a balance brought down in the suspense account. That side that had less, that is where the balance brought down in the suspense account goes. So when we draw our suspense account, on the credit side, we shall have balance brought down of 51,000, the difference. So we shall come here. Let me grab this. I'll draw my suspense account. And on the credit side, I've said, that is where, not always on the credit, but the side with rest. If it was the debit with rest, the balance brought down could have come to the debit. But now it is on the credit, it will go to the credit as balance brought down. The difference is 51,000. Then now you go to the general journal and pick any figure that is touching on the suspense account, where we have recorded the suspense account. Like here, suspense account, it has been credited by 10,000. So on the credit side, we need to record the 10,000. So we shall come here. Look, the account that is affecting or that is affected by the same error is the sales. But this 10,000 in the suspense is on the credit. So you'll go to the credit and record the 10,000 there. The other account, use the name of the other account that was affected with the suspense, the sales. So the figure should be on the credit. Then you use the name of the account that was affected together with the suspense, which is sales. The second error, there is no suspense, so this entry cannot be recorded in that account. The third error, it was affecting the suspense by 12,000, and this 12,000 is on the debit. The 12,000, it is 6,000 for discount allowed and 6,000 for discount received. So you'll come to the debit side. See, it is supposed to have 12,000, but you break it as discount allowed 6,000, discount received 6,000, so that we can have that total of 12,000 there. Suspense is supposed to be debited by 12,000, but the 12,000, it is 6,000 and 6,000 for discount allowed and discount received respectively. That is done. We go to number 4. We realize that there is no suspense, so we don't have to record anything there. Number 6, suspense account has been debited by 50,000. So we shall have to put the 50,000 there. What is the name of the other account? Capital. Number 7, there is no suspense account, so we have got nothing to record. Then, if everything was correct, remember there was an issue with the number 5, and the number 5 was affecting our suspense account. So, it is supposed to balance. If everything was perfect, the totals here will be the same without putting the balance carried down. But in this case, it will not because of that issue number 5. But now we can be able to know the amount that was in that number 5. But we don't need to do that. It was supposed to be the responsibility of the examiner to give us the correct figures. So that is it for that question number 1. I will look at one more question, and then I will review with the third question to try. The second question for June 2019, there was no suspense. I feel like that one you can do it, but let us do it orally. It says that an accounts assistant employed by Mishak Enterprises committed the following errors in the books of accounts in the month of January 2019. One is that failed to record a purchase worth 25,400 bought on credit from Campesa Limited. That one just treat it as an error of omission. We failed to record, so we never recorded the purchases. We never recorded the Campesa Limited account. So if you were to record it in the ledger accounts, when you purchase goods on credit, you are supposed to debit the purchases account, then you credit the supplier Campesa. That is what you are supposed to do. Simple as that. Number 2, entered a sales of 46,000 on the debit side of Joshua instead of recording in Joseah's account. So 46,000 sales was entered on the debit of Joshua instead of Josiah. Now that one you need to remember the issue of reversing and recording. It was debited in the Joshua, so you credit Joshua to reverse. Then you are going now to debit the correct person, who is Josiah. Never forget that. When it is an entry in the wrong account, reverse that, then post it in the correct account. So the correct account that was supposed to be debited is Josiah. So debit Josiah. Then because Joshua was debited erroneously, credit that account to reverse. Number 3, the account of Jebu, a creditor, was debited with 14,700, while the account of Amani, a debtor, was credited with 14,700. So it is like we did it on the opposite side. You need to remember that a creditor is a liability, should be credited. A debtor is an asset, should be debited. So they did the opposite. And there, you always need to remember, when the entry is in the correct account, but on the wrong side, take it to the correct side, but remember to double the amount. The account of Jebu, a creditor, was debited. So Jebu account is correct account. The only problem is that we debited Jebu, who is a creditor, instead of crediting that account. The account itself has no problem. The problem is on the side the amount was posted. You take it to the correct side. So we shall credit Jebu by 14,700 times 2 to reverse and to record. Hope you remember that from what we discussed on Monday. When a figure is on the correct side, if I can have an illustration of that again. Here with us, it is an account of Jebu. Jebu, we have been told, is a creditor. A creditor is a liability, should be credited. Then we made a mistake. Instead of crediting here, we debited 14,700. We are supposed to use the same account for Jebu, but now we are supposed to credit. So you take this figure to this side by doing 14,700 twice. The first is to cancel this, so that this amount it is like it has been removed from the debit because it was not supposed to be there. Then we have recorded. So you are reversing this and recording that amount at the same time. That's why we multiply by 2. So don't record it like this. Just multiply 14,700 times 2. You will get maybe this 29,400. You just put the figure 29,400. So don't put it twice like that. At the back of your mind, you know this 29,400, the first amount is for cancelling, the second one is for recording. The same case will apply for Amani. Amani, we have been told, is a debtor. A debtor is an asset, and the figure should be debited. So we were supposed to have 14,700 here, but for Amani, we did on the credit. So how are we going to bring in this amount here? Well, first, we reverse that. We pass this wrong credit by that. Then we record. So we have used this amount twice. So you go, when you are doing your journal entries, you just have, we have the DR and the CR and the serial number. So you just come here and say the correct account that was supposed to be debited is Amani, 29,400. Then Jebu, who is a creditor, because he had been debited, we shall credit by 29,400. That is how you deal with it. That is how you deal with it. So in your journal entries, you have it like this. When the amount is in the correct account but on the wrong side, to transfer it to the correct side, you'll have to double because of the reason of cancelling and recording at the same time. If you simply put 14,700 without doubling the amount, you have simply cancelled, but that amount has not been recorded. Good enough? Then number 4, a cash sale of 5650 was entered in the books as 6550. So that is what we call an overcast, but that overcast is affecting the both accounts because we are told it has been entered in the books. In the books means that both the accounts to be debited and the accounts to be credited be recorded with 6550. So take 6550, you minus the correct amount, 5650, then you realize that the difference, which is the overcast, is 900. 900 was recorded as extra, both to cash and sale, because when you make cash sales, you debit cash, you credit sales. Sales account is always credited. So you did that, but you used 900 extra for each account. So the issue is you are supposed to reverse, because it's an overcast, you reverse only the 900, the extra. Sales account has 900 extra on the credit, so we shall debit 900 on sales account, so that we reverse the 900, so that the account will remain with this balance. For the cash account, it was debited by this amount, which is 900 extra. We shall credit now the cash account to subtract the 900 extra, so that the account will remain with the correct balance. So you will come here under the journals. You will come here again and write that. You now say sales we need to reverse 900. To reverse 900 from sales, because we had credited by 900 extra, to reverse 900 now we debit to that account. Then you go to cash. Cash account was debited, but was debited with 900 extra. We needed to reverse the 900. Now that it was initially debited, to reverse the 900, now we shall credit the cash. That is when it is excess. But if it was, we recorded less by 900. If it was less by 900, then we could have credited sales and debited cash. When it is undercast, the account that was debited or credited, you debit and credit again. On the same side, the initial amount was recorded, you record the difference again on the same side because you are adding. But when it is excess, the accounts will be recorded on the opposite sides because you are reversing. Lastly, recorded motor vehicle expenses of 36,700 in the motor vehicle account. You see now, these are expenses, but recorded in the asset account. These are motor vehicles expenses, so they should be recorded in motor vehicle expenses account. But they have been recorded in motor vehicle. You know, when you record it in the motor vehicle, it sounds like you are acquiring a motor vehicle because you are debiting an asset. Debiting an asset is like you are increasing that asset. But in the real sense, these are costs that are incurred in maintaining that particular asset. So it is an error of principle. Recorded this in motor vehicle. So the correct entry should go to the motor vehicle expenses. So debit the expenses, then credit the motor vehicle because motor vehicle was debited on behalf of this. So you reverse in the motor vehicle by crediting, then you debit the expenses account because expenses are debited. Debit motor vehicle expenses, credit the motor vehicle. And you are done, you get your 10 marks. So for every correct entry, you are getting a mark because every entry has got a debit and credit in the general journal. Very simple, very simple, very simple. I have like done that, but we'll do it now in a neat way. The last question, that is the question I want us to attempt for 10 minutes, and then we say it is over for this class. So the question is saying that we prepare the suspense account. I know it can be a bit confusing when you do it straight or when you do the suspense account straight. For you to do it faster, even if we are not asked to prepare the journal entries, you can prepare the journal entries first, and then you transfer those journal entries to the suspense account. Instead of doing it straight, you can do the journal entries, then transfer the journal entries to the suspense account. I know it can be faster, and it will not confuse you. So, let me do the general journal. Then you extract the suspense account. I will do the general journal for you, then you extract the suspense account. One, sales were undercast. Undercast, less amount was recorded by 40,000. So you just remember that sales account is credited. If we credited with an undercast, then we need to add this 40,000 there. Undercast, we said you put it on the same side the account was recorded. So because sales is credited and we credited by less 40,000, then we shall add the 40,000 by crediting the sales account again. The other account that will be affected, when it is one account, we said we will have to involve the suspense. And then now we credit our sales by 40,000. That's that. Undercast, you put the amount on the same side the account was recorded because you are adding. Rent receivable, this is a revenue. Revenues are normally credited. Discount received, discount received, rent received, commission received, dividends received, interest received. All those are considered as revenues, the revenue accounts are normally credited. But now look at what happened. Was recorded as 127,000 instead of 271. If you take 271 and you minus 127,000, that tells you we did an undercast of 144,000. Undercast. Because we used this instead of this. And we have agreed discount receivable is supposed to be credited. So we needed to argue and say, therefore, that on the credit side of discount receivable, we made an undercast again of 144,000. So because this account was credited and it is an undercast, we credit again by the undercast amount, which is the difference, 144,000. 144,000. So I'll come here. Discount receivable, it is a revenue. So I'll come here and say number 2. Again, I'll have to involve suspense because it's only the discount receivable that we are adjusting. 144,000 will be debited. Then I go here and capture the rent receivable, which was credited, but it was credited with the less 144,000. So I add it on the credit again. That is how you deal with it. You don't need to struggle. Number 3. A check of 377,000 was recorded in the cash book as 773,000. You see now, a check, it is supposed to affect the bank. The bank is an asset. Assets are normally debited. That is how you argue. Assets are normally debited. So this check of 377,000, it was recorded as 773. So we made an overcast of how much? 773,000, you minus 377,000, we made an overcast of 396,000. The overcast is 396,000. Let us go back. Cash book is simply cash under bank. We consider it as a cash book. So, cash and bank being assets, we are supposed to debit them. Yes, we debited, but we debited using 773 instead of 377. So we over-debited. We made an overcast. So when you make an overcast on the debit, you are supposed to reverse the overcast amount, the extra amount, 396,000. So we shall credit the cash book or the bank by 396 because it was over-debited. Then we shall debit the suspense account. We shall debit the suspense account by the 396,000. Then we subtract 396,000 from the cash book because we over-debited. We reverse or subtract that so that we can remain with the actual amount that was supposed to be debited there. Number 4, John, a debtor. Debtors are supposed to be debited. Had bought goods worth 180,000. So we were supposed to debit John and credit sales. This transaction was recorded on the credit side of his account. You see now, we sold goods to John, 180,000. Instead of debiting John, we are told that this transaction was recorded on the credit side of John's account. That is the issue we were talking about doubling the amount. The entry was recorded in John's account, but instead of debiting, we credited. The account is correct. It is only that the amount is on the credit instead of being on the debit. Now we need to double that, to cancel and to record. We cancel the amount that is on the credit, then we debit. So we shall use 180,000 twice, which is the same as what? 360. We shall debit John. We shall debit John because it was supposed to be debited, but now we use 360,000. Because 180 will first of all cancel the amount that is on the credit side of his account, then we record 180. Because now it is only his account that is affected. Because if you read the statement keenly, you realize that this error only affected the account of John. It did not affect the account of sales, because we read how the statement is being concluded. This transaction was recorded on the credit side of his account. There is nowhere we are told about the problem in the sales account. So the sales account was recorded perfect. Yeah? So if that is the case, then we don't touch on the sales. Sales account is okay. Then we shall take this 360,000 to the credit side of suspense. So you must read the statement carefully, so that you can be able to know whether it is affecting the two accounts that were supposed to be affected by that transaction, or it's affecting one of them. Anytime you find that they are stressing on one account, don't touch on the other account that is not being mentioned. But when they say that this transaction was recorded in the books, when they use the word in the books, then it simply means that it is affecting both of them. If, for example, they said this, if they say that a transaction like this, number 3, a check of 3, maybe you are told a check of 377,000 from Peter was recorded in the books as 773. Then you need to know that it is going to affect the bank and Peter, because when it is talking about books, it means both of them. But when it stresses on one account, just deal with that one account. And when it is one account that is being affected, then you'll have to bring in the suspense account. Let's go to number 5. Return outwards. That is what we call purchases returns. Purchases returns are normally credited. Those are return outwards or purchases returns. It is the opposite of purchases. When purchases is debited, the returns for purchases are credited. When sales is credited, the returns for sales are normally debited. So, return outwards journal was overcast. And we have said return outwards should be credited. And if it was credited with an undercast. We credited by less. And when it is an undercast, we have said, if the account is normally credited, you will credit again by the undercast. If the account is normally debited, you will debit again by the undercast. So the return outward will be credited by this 48,000. Then we shall debit the suspense account. We shall debit the suspense account. Then here you credit the return outward, 48,000. Okay. Number 6, the totals of discount allowed amounting to 10,000 were not posted in the general ledger, so they were not recorded in simple terms. Discount allowed, we agreed, is an expense. Expenses are supposed to be debited, so we forgot to debit the discount allowed. They were never posted, so they were never recorded. So discount allowed being an expense, we shall debit them, then credit the suspense. $10,000. Then we conclude number 7. purchase of office furniture. Office furniture is a fixed asset, should be debited in the office furniture account. Was recorded in the cash book only. So when you buy an office furniture, either by check or by cash, you should debit the office furniture, you should credit the cash book. Remember, cash book is cash and bank, and we normally credit the cash book because whenever we make payments. The credit side of the cash book is when we make the payment. So we are paying for the office furniture. We debit the asset that we have acquired, we credit the cash or bank, which is the cash book. So we are told that it was recorded in the cash book only. So we credited the cash book, we forgot to debit the office furniture. We forgot to debit the office furniture. So go ahead and do the debit now. So you debit the office furniture. How much was this? $248,000. And because it was credited in the cash book, now we cannot credit again. So the account to be credited now will be suspense. $248,000. And those are the journal entries. But now the question was not asking you to do this. This is supposed to assist you now to answer the question. The question was requiring the candidates to prepare the suspense account. The suspense account. So the suspense account, first of all, starts with this balance if you are given. And it says that the trial balance of Stopper Traders did not balance on that 1st of December 2017. The debits exceeded the credits. I told you that that figure that made the two sides of the trial balance not to balance, it is recorded as balance brought down in the suspense account, but it should be recorded on the side with less. That should be the policy. So don't struggle unless you are told that it was recorded on the debit of the suspense account or credit of the suspense account. That one you record it as given. But when they tell you that the debits exceeded the credits exceeded the debits, just ask yourself which side was having less. That is the side where the balance brought down will go. So if the debits exceeded the credits, then the credit side is having less 90,000. So that is where the balance should go. So when you do your suspense account, you will come and start with that as this is the suspense account. The debits exceeded the credits, so the credits were having less 90. That is where the balance broke down of 90,000 should be, where it was less. Then now come and bring in these entries. Incorporate them here. Number one, suspense was debited by 40,000. So you go to the debit side and record that 40,000. The other account is sales. Number two, suspense account is also debited by 144,000. The other account is this. So you debit the suspense account by 144,000. The other account is rent. Receivable. Suspense account has been debited by 396,000. The other account is cash book. So we debit 396,000. Then here we have the cash book. Number four, suspense account, the amount is credited 360,000. So we shall credit 360,000. The other account is gone. So 360,000 on the credit. The other account is the account of gone. Number five, suspense account is debited by 48,000. The other account is returned outward. So 48,000 on the debit, return outward. And outward. Number 6, suspense account has been done what? Suspense account is credited by 110. The other account is discount allowed. So you credit here by 110,000. Discount allowed is the other account. Lastly, suspense account has been credited by 248,000. 248,000 on the credit side. The other account is what? Office furniture. Credited, so we shall come here and credit 248,000. The other account is office furniture. That is how your suspense account should appear. So that is how we deal with errors. Remember what we normally do in the ledger's account, then think about how that error will be corrected. Is it in the wrong account? Cancel the wrong account, take it to the correct account. Is it an undercast? Add that amount to that account. Is it an overcast? Reverse the overcast amount by recording on the opposite side. That is the case. If the amount was never recorded, record it. Any question? That brings us to the end of the accounting errors and suspense account. Any question?
Mwalimu, can you repeat why we use the suspense account in some situations and some situations we don't?
Okay. Remember we said that from the onset on the errors, and said we have got two categories of account errors. Those not affecting balance. File and number. This is number 1, sorry. Number 2, those affecting file balance. And if they are affecting the total side, maybe. So those errors not affecting these ones, they don't require suspense account. Because these errors, their effect on the debit is the same effect on the credit. So in the process of correcting them, you will find that you have got the two accounts. One will be debited, the other one will be credited. So you don't need the suspense account. Because in the process of correcting these errors, you are going to deal with the two accounts. One of them will be debited, the other one will be credited. So you don't need the suspense account. But those errors affecting trial balance totals, in most cases, the issue is in one account. The problem is in one account. So as you correct that one account, you don't have the other account to complete the double entry. That is where now we use the suspense account. So suspense account is normally used in this category of errors. Those errors that are talking about overcast, those errors talking about undercast, those errors that are talking about single entry, whereby you are told that this transaction was only debited here. This transaction was only credited here. Then they did the single entry. You need to complete the double entry. Then you are now going to record on the account that was never recorded. Then you complete the double entry. These errors, in most cases, they are touching in one account. They are affecting only one account. So you correct that one account. You don't have the other account to pass the double entry. You come in and now you use the suspense. But these errors, number 1, in the process of correcting them, you are going to have an account to debit and credit. when you are told that cash sales was omitted from the books. That is an error of omission. If they are omitted on the books, you debit cash, you credit sales. You don't need suspense. You are told that goods sold to Grace was debited to Tracy. Then you reverse in the Tracy, you record in the account, the correct account of Grace. You don't need suspense. You are told motor vehicle bought was recorded in the purchases. It was not supposed to go to the purchases. Reverse in the purchases, record in the motor vehicle. So those errors, they don't require suspense. But when you are told that the sales account was undercast by 10,000, it is only the sales account that is affected. Correct that undercast, then you don't have the other account. The other account is suspense. When you are told that electricity of 5,000 paid was only recorded in the cash book, so it was never recorded in the electricity account. You record in the electricity account, you don't have the other account to credit, you use the suspense. So that is actually the reason I. Are you together?
Yes, yes.
Just go. In the RMS, we have those notes. Errors not affecting the trial balance. Those errors, when they are being corrected, they don't require suspense. Errors affecting the trial balance, those errors, when we are correcting them, we use the suspense account. Okay. Any other question before we call it a lesson?
Mwalimu, when we close the suspense account, are they to balance, Ama?
Is it balancing?
No.
If it is not balancing, that is the problem with the question.
Okay.
That disclaimer. The CHRP papers, those who normally set those papers, I think they are not very serious.
But in an ideal situation, they are to balance.
Yes, we said that when you are given this balance breakdown, and then you have corrected the errors, it should balance.
Okay, thank you.
But if you are not given this balance, then the suspense account will not balance. So whenever this one is provided, it should. When this opening balance breakdown is not provided, then it will not balance. So that is what you need to do.
So we balance with the balance carried down?
If it is not balanced, leave it.
Okay.
Just post that. Those entries are enough to give you very good marks.
Okay.
If there are mistakes, you should get all the marks. Okay. Any other question? Okay, if there is no any other question, we'll stop there for today. We need, I hope you are doing good work in your groups. I don't know. We still have, I think I will give you an opportunity to present. To present on Sunday, but we are yet to agree with Mr. Ezra whether we can have a class and then have like half of the groups to present. We are rushing with the time. We also need you to have those materials so that you can start reading, so that you don't present towards the tail end and you don't have enough time to go through those materials. So half of the groups will present on Sunday. That is group A, B, C, D. Then E, F, G, H will do the other Sunday, so that we can cover something small. Then we present. And no 1 hour will be enough for presenting. So groups A, B, C, D, make sure that your work is ready. You will share with the other members the moment you are done, so that we can use your materials. We also have the same materials on the RMS. They will complement each other. So I think that is enough for today. Have a very blessed day ahead.
English, yeah.
Yes. Was it a question? Okay.
Share the recording. Kindly share the recording.
I will do. Okay, bye-bye. Enjoy your day.
Have a nice day.
Thank you, Madam. Nice day.